If there's one thing which is extremely ironic about the Sonic movie, aside from its success, it has to be the fact that everything leading up to it was a complete and utter disaster, or just a train wreck in all honesty. Like, if you were someone that was following this film mainly due to the story, like, you were probably disappointed mainly because you found out that the movie was some buddy movie where Sonic went in a generic storyline where he was stuck on Earth. Or if you were someone that was following it because you thought it was gonna explore Sonic, oh yeah, he was on Earth or something. Along with the fact that the leaks, like I don't know, or just the teasers to be honest, like the Green Hill one, or it's like Green Hill being built soon with the cop car, really set off a bunch of people, and not in a good way as well. Like, no one knew the fucking context of the film yet, so how was anyone supposed to find out about what that exactly meant, especially knowing the context of how the movie goes? In the movie, Green Hills is a little town and also the first place which you see in the film, while in that clip, or, well, in that teaser, it could have been anything. Hell, that could have been the original Green Hills from the games, which was just destroyed to become some town like that giant city in Sonic Forces. But at the end of the day, the Sonic movie, I guess, is pretty decent in all honesty. But I'll get to talking about the movie later. But today, I'm going to be talking about the film and talking about things which I liked and things which I disliked. So, how about we get into this? Now, even though this may seem like a nitpick coming from someone which has played the games for a long time, I'm going to say this as someone which has played the games, which is the lack of locations. If you're someone that has played Sonic or at least have heard of it, I'm pretty sure everyone knows that locations are iconic for the series. And the fact that there weren't that many locations for possibly Sonic or for Tom, the second main character, to go and explore through, or not even explore, but just to fool around in and also have some cool action scenes, is something which kind of feels sad. Like, yes, I know that it's the first movie, so you gotta play safe and kind of deal what you have, but at the same time, I feel like since these guys were going through the United States of America, considering the fact that they're going from one small town in the US all the way to San Francisco, there could have been a lot more cool locations that Sonic and Tom go through in order to get to San Francisco. Like, I don't know, what if these two guys are at some type of fair and they have to try and sneak through or have to fight some of Eggman's robots in order to escape? What if their car broke down in the middle of some city and Sonic has to run around to be a distraction in order for Tom to go find the car, hopefully not get caught by any of these Eggman robots or drones or whatever the hell they are, and possibly escape with Sonic so they could continue on their journey to San Francisco? There could have been a ton of possibilities for more action here, and I really have to say, it really sucks that there were only, like, what, 3 locations and a few more just in one cutscene in order just to get a bit of what we could have had. But at the same time, I guess I could see where they were coming from, considering that this was only the first movie, and that you kind of do want to play it safe when you're dealing with something like this, I guess. And even though this may be something like a repeat, I'm going to mention it in this video, which is the lack of more action and comedy scenes within this movie. I'm not sure about everyone else, but when it comes to comedy buddy movies, I think it's expected that if we're going to have a comedy buddy movie, that you gotta have your fair share of comedy and a bit of action in there. Heck, there's a bunch of examples which I could have seen from, like maybe Ride Along, or maybe the Looney Tunes movie, or anything like that. There's a fair share of enough action scenes which are goofy and wacky in their own way, and even a bit of comedy, which is also implemented in the action. And I have to say, it kind of sucks that they never used that to their advantage, especially since they're dealing with a blue hedgehog that could go faster than the speed of sound in the context of the games. And I think this is the part where I probably wrap it up and start talking about the last 2 subjects. And for the last parts, I just wanted to say this. I do think that if there should have been one thing, it should have been the fact about Sonic and Tom's relationship between each other for them to become friends. Because even though there is a moment to where these two kind of connect with each other over this little journey, I think that it's kind of not really that much to make you feel like, yeah, Sonic is definitely the friend of this random guy's life, which he just kind of ruined on accident. I think that it would have made more sense if there would have been more scenes between the two to where they just kind of talk to each other, have more moments to where they become friends throughout the film. So like it makes sense to where Tom's ready to go defend Sonic even though he may or may not be dead in that one scene. So that's the last of the negatives, and this is the part where I start talking about the positives. So to start with the positives, one of the things I want to mention is the way how they recreated how they recreated the character in a way to where if you're someone that probably has or has not played the games, probably read it in a long time or just never at all, you can really see where the director is going. Sonic's just a free-spirited teenager that's just, I don't know, kind of scared of the world and is naturally doing what he's told by trying to run away from his problems. But later on, he finds out that he can actually face on the problems head on and actually defend the things that he cares about, which is something which I actually like. And something which is a pretty good change considering the fact that in most video game movies they completely butcher the characters from their video game counterparts simply so they could try and make something to appeal to those people that never played the games or simply to try and appeal to people which are trying to accept some type of new reboot. For the most part in this movie, it was pretty decent and is something which I can accept for what it is. Now, even though this might sound a bit contradicting considering the fact that I criticized the movie for this for the first time, I'm going to say this. Even though that I said that the film lacks a lot of action scenes, locations, and also some comedy within it, I will say this. For a first time viewing, the film is pretty nice, and that if you're someone that likes a fun, dumb movie that watch with the fam or rather by yourself, it's pretty nice for that. And the action scenes, for what they have and for the locations that they have, they're pretty uniquely used. It may not be all that special, but at the same time, it's something which I once again said last time is pretty acceptable for the matter. And I think this is the part where I talk about the last bit. Now, the last bit I want to talk about is things I would fix in the movie. Not necessarily a huge overhaul, but just minor things which I feel like would make sense. First of all, being Sonic's character. Even though his character is fine for the most part, even though they didn't change him so drastically, I feel like it would have been a bit more better if they kind of had him in a way to where he's just a free spirit and is kind of just already known. I think that even though the juvenile idea sounds stupid at first, I do think that it could kind of play into a bit of his character, considering the fact that Sonic is 13 years old in the movie, and heck, why wouldn't he just want to mess around and probably just run around being free? I think the whole idea about having him hang around Green Hills, the town, and him living in the cave is a cool little HQ to have in the meantime when he's not running. And I do think that they could have had a few more action scenes. I do feel like they could have improved among other things, like the connection between Sonic and Tom, and probably even the climax with instead of it being some high-speed chase, to where they could actually have it to where Sonic maybe fights a giant robot. But at the same time, that's just something which could, or probably couldn't be replaced. But at the same time, for the most part, the Sonic movie was pretty average and pretty okay. It's not something which is something. It's not something which I could see as extremely hateable, or something which I could see as some form of a cinematic masterpiece. It's kind of in between it. It breaks the boundaries of video game movies being extremely bad, mainly for the sole reason of them not knowing about how to handle a character. The film does a pretty decent job at doing what it does, and I actually appreciate it for trying to take the source material and then twist it in its own way so it can make sense on screen. But that was all, folks. Lone Wolf 360 out. I hope you enjoyed this video. That's all, folks. Later.